And good morning, everyone. All About the Gyro here on a cloudy, drizzly Saturday morning here in Nashville. Hope all of you are well. And in this vlog, number 5, I'm going to disclose and share with you the method that I use to figure out if I am ready to actually enter an official race. All you need for this is Algebra 1. So if you remember basic linear equations, you will be able to understand this. I needed a way to ascertain where I was at based on my current I rating, based on strength of field, based on figuring out in the GTE class, which being my first season, was I driving at a minimal competent level to not be the proverbial moving chicane. So here's the formula that I am using, and it has helped me out, and it's been reasonably accurate. Keep in mind this is a predictive model, so it's not going to be exact. There is variances involved in it. So I'm gonna put it here on the phone here, and there is the model. To let you have a good look at it. Ignore this cross out. This is the one we're gonna look at. And here's what it says. It says, first, take your coach time. So as many of you know, I use Craig Setup Shop primarily, the occasional PDS setup. I take their coach's time and convert it into seconds. That is my baseline time. Now, I subtract a product, and that product is what my I rating is from 2,500. Whatever that difference is, and you will have a negative number if you're below 2,500, multiply that by 0.001. Whatever that number is, and if you're less than 2,500, you're going to have a negative. So it's going to cancel out that negative that's in front, and you're going to actually gain time. And then the last thing you have to take into account is the circuit length. Now I base mine on miles. So if you use kilometers, there's a scaling that needs to be done to convert appropriately. But I base this on 2.5 miles. Anything over that has to have an upward correction. If you're racing around, let's say Laguna Seca, for example, you subtract off of that. And whatever number that is in seconds is, if you had a strength of field that was that average, that is the lap time that should be at the front end, as in trying to lead the class for your category. So once you have that number, that's the theoretical best pace, as in we've minimized the amount of time to go around the circuit. Now, how do you figure out what the slowest lap speed should be for you to actually be competitive? Here's where you add a basic scalar factor. If you are 1,000 or below, add 5 seconds. If you are in between 1,000 and 1,500, you add 3.5 seconds. If you are 1,500 to 2,000, add 2 seconds. And then if you are 2,000 to 2,500, you add 1/2 of 1 second. That is your minimum time that you need to be doing practice to go, okay, I am not a hindrance to other people driving in my race. I am not a moving chicane. This way I won't be frustrated. It's like, oh, good Lord, they're 8 seconds faster than me. Why am I doing this? Well, now you know where you should be in terms of a metric. So, putting this into good practice. Right now, I am 9:54 iRating. So my coach's time in the Corvette was 1 minute, 54 seconds, and 780 thousandths. So I converted that to seconds. So that's 114.780 seconds. I then looked at my iRating and subtracted it off of 2500 and then multiplied that whole product by 0.001, and that gained me a positive 1.546 seconds. Because remember, my iRating is less than 2500. Add, and I use Suzuka as a frame of reference. Suzuka is 3.6 miles around. My baseline is 2.5 miles around. And so I gain an additional 1.1 seconds. And so at the top end of my split, average lap times will be approximately 1 minute 57.42 seconds for the fastest lap. Now, because I'm below 1,000, my minimum race pace has to be +5, and so that's 2 minutes, 2 seconds, 0.42, which I did in my race to get P9 in a 19-car GTE split. So, pretty interesting formula. Hopefully, this gives you a benchmark to where you can measure where you should be in terms of your iRating as it relates to the circuit you're on, given that you know what your coach's time is, and the other catch is sufficient participation. This formula will not work in events or categories where there isn't sufficient participation. So for example, VRS Sprint, this formula should work very nicely. But Spec Racer Ford, you're gonna have a bit more error because there's just different levels of participation. I base this off of GTE, but there's sufficient participation in GTE. So give it a shot. I think you're gonna like what you find out because it helps you make that decision in terms of, should I take a drop week here? Am I going to be able to enjoy this race? And it gives you kind of that bracket of time of, I need to be within this interval of time to be successful. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe. Look forward to seeing all of you in the next video.